Hey everybody, this is MJ and welcome to our training broadcast for this beautiful Tuesday afternoon, evening. I hope that you have had a phenomenal beginning of your week and that you are ready to learn today about something that we talk about a lot, especially at the beginning of the year. And as business owners, you really need to be cognizant of today's topic throughout the year, whether it's at the beginning of the quarter or halfway through the year or whatever time frame makes sense. And what we're going to be talking about today are goals. Goals. At the beginning of the year, we call them New Year's resolutions, although they usually don't look like goals. And at the time when we call them New Year's resolutions. And that's what we're going to be talking about today is what is it that happens between when you say, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to happen in my business, in my shop, in my boutique. These are the metrics I would like to have. These are the sales I would like to bring in. And then it does not happen. And what people don't realize is that for the good or for the bad, what usually stops you from hitting your goals is not out of your control. It's within your control. Sometimes what you're doing is killing your goals. Even though you have the best of intentions, you are actually falling prey to one or more of the goal killers that we're going to be talking about today. And because of that, you are not reaching the success that you want to have. A lot of times we blame the market. We think it's the marketing. If we could just tweak our marketing, it would be, business would be better. Or it's the customers. They're just not engaged. They're just not loyal. Or it's the product itself. But a lot of times it's just that the way you have established yourself on your way to reaching your goals is actually killing you or killing your goals before you ever have a chance to get started and get out the gate. So what we're going to be talking today we're probably going to be talking about give or take six different goal killers that are very common. It's not unusual. Like I said, we have New Year's resolutions that we set at the beginning of every year. Maybe you set them the day before the new year begins. And usually by February, if you make it that far, they are already broken. New Year's resolutions are a common type of goal that a lot of people set and that we are used to people also not achieving. So get your notepads and your pens. We're going to talk about the things that you could be doing when you're setting your goals that are already setting you up for failure, where you're not likely to achieve those goals. And actually, these killers are actually facets or aspects of the goals themselves. So what we're going to be talking about are some things that actually describe the goals you are setting, and they're going to let you know why you are not achieving them. And the first goal killer that you might be falling prey to is that your goal is too big. Now, I do want to put a caveat out here. We'll be talking about it in the next goal killer. I don't want you to think that having a goal is too big if it's something that you've never done or that seems almost impossible or anything like that. Just because a goal seems impossible or see something that you can't imagine because you've never gotten to that place, whether it's a financial goal, a health goal, a relationship goal, whatever that is, just because it seems unlikely does not mean the goal is too big. What we're talking about are things that are not realistic, that are not something that can be attained with any type of human power. And even with, I don't want to say with supernatural power, you might not be able to achieve it, but it will be something like, I'm going to open my shop today and I'm going to make $1 million by next month. Now, are there probably a few businesses out there that made $1 million their first month? Absolutely. Probably people in the technology field have achieved those type of metrics. But a new boutique starting out selling a product, new on the market with their brand, is not going to make $1 million in the first month. Yes, you have people who, you talk about the crayon case lady. She made $1 million in 90 minutes, but she wasn't brand new. She was not brand new to the market. She had laid the groundwork for some time. And even if she was flat out the gate, having a goal of doing that is putting it in such a place that it's not attainable or so unlikely to be attainable that it actually has a counter effect on you. to where it's so overwhelming. The idea is so fantastic that you're just like, even though you say, I want to make $1 million the first month, your mind says, ma'am, you're not going to do that. And it's not because you don't work hard. It's not because every once in a while there is a person that does it, but the likelihood of doing it is extremely low. And at least in your mind, what you would have to do, all the stars aligning in one place, it's just as good as impossible. So it's not that it seems impossible. For all intents and purposes, it is impossible. And it's too big to where it is demotivating, or to where in your mind you still kind of break it down and say, well, it's not going to really happen. I'm going to say I want to come out the gate, make $1 million the first month, but I know I'm not. So then you're already modifying the goal, even as you're saying it, because you don't believe that it's possible. So to me, it is possible to have a goal that is way too big. Like, it would be something like, I think about that show I watch every once in a while, 600 Pound Life, and you got these individuals who are morbidly obese. Maybe they weigh 700-800 pounds. And for them to say in 3 months, I'm going to drop 300-400 pounds, not only would that be unhealthy if they could do that outside of losing a limb, it's not likely. It's as good as impossible for somebody to lose 300 or 400 pounds in 2 or 3 months, right? That goal is too big. What's more reasonable in 3 or 4 months might be to lose 100 pounds, maybe, or something of that nature. And like I said, before, if they get a surgery, maybe it goes faster. But the point is a goal that is too big, where even if all the stars align, you're not likely to get it, can actually have a demotivating effect because you're overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of the goal itself. The goals are supposed to exhilarate you. They're supposed to activate you, move you into action, catalyze you, challenge you, but they're not supposed to make you feel like you're going to be lost if you even try. So goals can be too big, and that can kill them right out the gate. Now, what am I about to say? The second goal killer is the opposite of the first one. The first one is that a goal can be too big. The second one is that a goal can be too small. This is where we're playing it safe. This is where you're saying, like, I'm going to start my boutique, but I just want to pay my bills. I just want to get my bills paid. I'm not talking about paying off debt. They're talking about just paying their $3,000 a month bills. Like, nobody is taking on the risk of a business just to pay bills, and that's it. That's not to say that one of your minor goals can't be to at least replace your current income. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm talking about those bold goals that are really going to get you off of your duff and get you to where you're not just talking about building a boutique, you're actually doing it. Your goals can sometimes be too small. Oh, I just want to make $50,000 a year. Okay, that can be a milestone on the way, but nobody leaves the relative comfort of a job, the relative predictability, the low risk of a job to take on the risks of entrepreneurship and all that it entails to make 50 grand. I call BS on anybody who says that. If that's the only place where you want to go, you may as well stay at your job and let them get you benefits. You can replace a 50K job. What often happens when we play small is that we're trying to be safe, because you don't want to be disappointed. You don't want it to seem like more than you can do on your own, figure out on your own. You don't want to risk too much. That's where these small goals come from. So it's not even from a place of being modest or being wise, because that's the disguise that these two small goals often wear. When I hear people saying them, they're like, I don't want to be unwise. I want to be smart. I don't want to jump out there too much. Honey, entrepreneurship is about jumping out there too much. That's the nature of it. And if you're not ready to just jump and fly, I'm not saying do things half-cocked and without a plan and without guidance, but I'm saying if you're not willing to kind of free fall and be ready for the big possible disappointment, but possible great results, entrepreneurship might not be for you. As a matter of fact, I'll say it's not for you. Playing it small is what keeps you selling stuff out of the trunk of your car. Playing small or keeping your goals too small is what has you closing your doors altogether, because a business cannot be catalyzed by small goals. When, Apple, their vision statement before the vision they have right now, or is it Apple? No, maybe it was Microsoft. It was a computer in every home, right? That was their vision. right? It's to put a computer in every home. And for the most part, Microsoft achieved that. That's why they updated their vision statement to say something different, because now computers are almost ubiquitous in our world. They achieved that, but to say it at the time that they said that, that was an extraordinary goal to have, is that we want to place a computer in every home. And I'm sure it was laughed at. I'm sure it seemed fantastic to them, but they weren't playing it small. They didn't just say, well, we want about 100 companies in this country to use computers. No, they went big. And I will flip back to our last goal killer. It wasn't in their case, it wasn't too big of a goal. It probably seemed like it at the time. I won't say it didn't, but now that we've seen it accomplished, it wasn't too big a goal. It definitely wasn't small. So that kind of gives me a little sidebar here. Sometimes a goal can seem like it's too big, but it's not really. You go on towards it, eventually it starts to seem more and more realistic and more attainable. So be careful about saying your goal is too big, just because we're more like, when we say too big, we're talking about things that are not realistic within like human strength or the likelihoods, not that it's a big project, okay? But we're now talking about too small. Don't play small. Don't play small trying to avoid disappointment and trying to avoid risk, because entrepreneurship is about disappointment and risk, but it's also about getting those big rewards. And that's why your goals need to be big enough. The next goal killer that could be the very reason why you're not achieving them is that your goals can be too complex. Now that's different from size. We're not talking about size. We're talking about how convoluted or, how many different moving parts there are to your goal. Sometimes having goals that are too complex, look at your goals. Is there too much going on? Is there too many moving parts? When you have too many things to achieve, it can stop you from moving forward, because you either don't know how to start, or it seems like all of it's coming at you at one time, all of it needing to be done at once. You need to be able to break your goals down into parts. Like the expression goes, how do you eat an elephant, or really any large animal? One bite at a time, or really any large dish at all. One bite at a time. And if your goals are just looking like this big, massive thing that you have to accomplish, and it's impossible to see how you can attack it in 1 hour blocks, or in 1 day blocks, or even in 1 week blocks with things that are achievable, again, you're going to be overwhelmed and you're not going to move forward, because you're going to be, let me think. If you're thinking about, let me use the weight loss example. Okay. You're talking about losing, let's drop the weight down. Let's say you weigh 300 pounds and you want to get down to 150. Obviously, nobody moves forward if they just keep saying, I've got to lose 150 pounds. The smart people, the people that are able to lose the weight, are the people that say, okay, I want to lose 20 pounds by the time I go to my cousin's wedding. And then I'll lose another 50 pounds in time for the reunion. And then the next quarter, I'll lose another 40. They're breaking it down into parts, making milestones, but making small chunks that can be achieved in a smaller amount of time. The same thing is true about your business. Instead of just saying, I want to get to $1 million a year. Okay, that's all well and good. But all the things you have to do to get to $1 million, 1,001 steps, I love to say, to starting a business. And then when you're operating a business, there's still that many more that you need to do on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis. If you look at that $1 million goal and just keep looking, you focus on that goal, but if all you look at is that and then the 1,001 things in one list, you're going to be overwhelmed. You need to break it down into, what do I need to do today? What do I need to do this week, this month, this quarter to get there? And when you achieve that, then you look at the next part and the next part. Sometimes complexity of goals can make them too hard to achieve, because you're looking at it as one big blob that can't be done, because you can't do a big blob of anything all at once. We live in 24-hour cycles. That's a day. 7-day cycles. That's a week. 29, 28, 29, 30, 31 day cycles. That's a month. That's how our minds work. That's how we are socialized in our world as human beings. And we need to look at our goals in terms of those time periods, right? It's not enough to say, I want to do this. It has to be in chunks, pieces, sections that are something that you can actually wrap your mind around. Like, I have some really, really big goals, some really, really bold goals that I want to achieve, but I don't look at the whole big list of stuff all at one time. I'm only looking at what I'm doing this week, maybe what I'm doing this month to get me a framework, but I'm breaking it down into parts. You need to do that too. You get the whole big goal. You look at all that needs to be accomplished, but then you break it down to the minute. You break it down to the smallest chunk, which can be as small as what I do in this hour or in this 8-hour shift. That's what's going to get you moving forward and working consistently towards achieving that goal. But when your goals are too complex, that's what's killing them a lot of times, because they're not broken down into manageable pieces. The next goal killer we're going to talk about is that sometimes your goals are too simple. So here's another opposite. We said too complex. The opposite is sometimes your goals are too simple. Sometimes what you are calling a goal is really just a milestone on the way to a goal. Well, MJ, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with working towards a milestone? A lot of times your milestones on the way to a goal are just tasks. They're just action items. They are not inspiring. For example, getting to your grand opening day. That is a goal, launching your business in, November the 1st of 2021 or whatever that is. Launching it with, 200 products on your website and all of that, whatever that is. Have your social media, whatever your goal is, right? But then you have to look at all the things along the way. Getting my business license and launching my website. And a lot of times I hear people talking about their milestones as if they are the end in and of themselves. Getting your business license is a milestone. That is not a goal. It is not a goal. It's not inspiring. It's just a task that you have to achieve to open a business legitimately in this country. Launching a website is not a goal, because you don't make money off of having the website, launching it, right? You make money when people go to the website and buy from it. And you have to be really careful about calling a milestone a goal, because milestones are not inspiring. A lot of times milestones are just busy work that can distract you and make you think you're doing something when you're really not. The bottom line is, if your product or service is not in front of a customer every single day who can say yes or no, you're not in business. And a lot of times people say, oh, I launched my business 6 months ago. And what they really mean is that they launched a website 6 months ago. What they really mean is they got a tax ID number six months ago, or they bought some inventory. But that's not being in business. That's just spending time and money. You're in business when customers can get to you. You're in business when people can say yes or no to your product. You're in business when your credit card processor is ching, 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 and the money's falling into your bank account. That's when you're in business. The rest of it is just busy work. The rest of it is just stuff you're doing. So be very careful about calling something a goal when it's really just an action item or a task on the way to the goal. Again, a goal should inspire you. And nobody gets inspired by getting a business license or a tax ID number. Nobody gets inspired because I bought $5,000 worth of inventory. What inspires you is selling that $5,000 worth of inventory for 15 grand within the first month of being in business. Or again, whatever that goal is. But you have to be really careful about being too simplistic with what you're calling a goal, because a lot of people get stuck on those so-called goals that are really just tasks. And they're like, I'm in business, but I'm not making any money. Yeah, is you actually haven't achieved a real goal. You just check something off the list. And that's why your goals are not being achieved. But again, we're talking about how to fight back. The way to fight back against these goal killers is to do the opposite of what I'm telling you or describing right now. Doing the opposite. Creating goals that are not unattainable, creating goals that are attainable, but that aren't so small that you don't have to move outside of your comfort zone, making things broken down into parts that are bite-sized that you can actually achieve, but not focusing on the milestones and tasks as if they are the goals in and of themselves. Got 2 more goal killers we're going to talk about. The next one is that the goals are too vague. This is probably the worst one. This is probably the offender I hear the most. I use weight loss a lot as examples because that's what most people can relate to, and it just comes to mind. That's a common goal. We are often trapped in the thing of not being explicit enough in what it is that we want. And that's why we don't get there. You can't go to a destination when it's vague. For example, I just booked a trip to the DR. If I were vague, I would have just said, I want to, well, when you just holler out, I want to go somewhere, guess what? You can't book a trip on Hotwire, Travelocity, Expedia, none of those sites let you go somewhere. You have to be very specific and know where you want to go so that you can go find that destination, book hotels, flights, rental cars, and all that. I had to say I want to go to the Dominican Republic, and I also had to tell them when I wanted to go, which is part of our other goal killer we're going to talk about, is the when of it all. But the same, so we understand that when we're booking trips, we have to be very specific. But when we get to goals, just general goals that have to do with our health, our relationships, our finances, our business, our careers, we get real vague. I want to lose some weight. Well, ma'am, if you lose 1 ounce from yesterday to today, you lost weight. But that's not what you're talking about. That kind of goal of, losing an ounce, that doesn't require you to change your diet. It doesn't require you to exercise. It doesn't require you to get outside of your comfort zone or do anything different. But but you're not talking about losing an ounce when you say, I want to lose weight. But how much weight do you want to lose? Do you want to lose a pound? Do you want to lose 10 pounds, 30 pounds? Without knowing exactly how much weight you want to lose, how are you going to know what to do to get there and how long you need to do it? The same thing is true in your business. The same thing is true of any goal. If you just say, I want to open a shop, okay, first thing out your mouth, or first thing you think is, what am I going to sell? Because it's too vague. But once you know what you're going to sell, how are you going to sell it? Who are you going to sell it to? When are you going to sell it to them? Through what means are you going to sell it to them? You have to get specific. The same is true of every goal. You cannot get to a destination. Matter of fact, say that with me. You can't get to a destination if you don't know what the destination is. And again, when we talk about travel, that's a no-brainer. But that's true about anywhere you want to go in life. If you want to be a doctor, you can't wait till the day you want to be a physician to decide to be a physician. You have to know that you want to be a physician years in advance. Typically in undergrad and college, sometimes before that, so you can know what to major in college, so you can take the right classes, so you can get the right help, so you can actually apply to medical school, get in, go through that, and graduate. Residency, internship, fellowships, all of that. You can't decide the day you want to be an MD that you want to be an MD. So that makes sense. The same is true for goals in your business. Whether it's when you want to launch, how you want to launch, who you want to reach, all of those are goals. How much money you want to make, the lifestyle you want to live because of the business. Because what's true is you're not starting this business. If you're really honest, you're not starting this business just for the heck of it. You're starting it because something in your life is not working, and it's not going to start working if you keep doing what you're doing and continuing in that same path, and you know you have to do something different. That's why you're starting your business, right? So by that being true, you have to be honest about where it is you want to go. Set your sights on those things, but you can't just say, I want to live a better life. That's not inspiring. Every day you can say, I lived a better life than yesterday. Let's say yesterday you had a headache. Today you don't. That's a better life. See how ridiculous it sounds in those examples, but that's what we sound like when we're vague. I want to live a better life. I want to make some money, more money. $2 more is more. Is that what you're talking about? Or are you talking about $100,000 more? A lot of times we avoid the specificity again because we know it becomes a call to action. Now it becomes real. Sometimes we hide from the specificity because we don't want to tell people that we're stepping out there because we're afraid they're going to criticize. We're afraid of what the family and friends might say if they know you dare to imagine that you could own your own business. But guess what? You can. But a lot of times we stay vague so we can hide. We stay vague so if we don't do it, well, we didn't really say what we were going to do, so we didn't really fail. These are games people play. These are reindeer games you're playing with your future. You got to be specific or explicit about what it is you want in order to actually achieve the goal. See, the thing is, without these features or these aspects we're talking about when it comes to goals, you're not actually really writing goals. You're just talking about great ideas. The truth is, these are not really goal killers. You didn't have a goal to begin with. They're really future killers. They're really outcome killers because you're not going to get these outcomes, but they're not really goals unless they are set up the way we're talking about today. And the last goal killer we're going to talk about is that a lot of your goals are too indefinite. meaning there's no end date. There's no deadline. I'm going to do this one day. I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to go on vacation. I'm going to pay off my debt. These are things people write on January the 1st, and they wonder why January the 31st, none of it's happening. You're not moving. And then April and May come and you're still where you were before. Of course you are. You didn't tell yourself, your brain, your body, the universe, God. You didn't tell anybody what you really want and when. The when is, I would say, if you leave anything out, don't leave out this part. We often leave off time and dates because we don't want to commit. We don't want to actually do anything. We want to stay in the lack of a decision and movement. So we just say, I'm going to get out of debt. When? Like when? For a person that knows how goals should really be set up, the natural question is, when are you going to do it? Eventually, this year. We like that one too. But this year could be February, assuming we're at the beginning of the year. It could be February. It could be December. If you mean December, say that. But a lot of times we say, I'm going to do it in 2021 because that's still kind of indefinite because you still haven't committed to a time. Unless you say, by December 31st, I will do this for this reason. You haven't really set a goal. I know you think saying this year means it's got to be done by December 31st, but you got to put a flag in the ground, draw a line in the sand, and put a date on it. What's the worst that could happen if you don't hit that date? You have to recalibrate, shift it, and do something, and do it towards another date. But the date is what spurs you to action. I'm going to use my trip as an example, my trip to the DR. If I had just said I want to go to the Dominican Republic, which I have said in the past, it was on my, my bucket list of trips. I want to visit the whole world, really. If I had just said I want to go to the DR, I couldn't have booked the trip. Why? When you go in there, they want to know when. You can't travel until you know when. And let's say I didn't have the money to book the flight, but I knew I wanted to go. I still would need to know when I need to go so I know how long I have to get the money before I can book. I have a trip next year to Africa. I had to know this year that I wanted to go so I could find out how much it costs and pay for it and all that in enough time. Again, with travel, it makes sense. Dates. The airlines and the hotels make you choose dates, but with everything else in our lives, we are vague and we're not definite. Your goals need to have a date in them. Even if you say things like third quarter, put a date. What's the last date of the third quarter? Put that date. What's the date you want to lose weight by? Put that date. Otherwise, you'll be able to, squirm around in there and not do it. That's why you're not moving forward. Deadlines spur action. Not having a deadline breeds procrastination. And if you have been dreaming about starting your boutique or whatever goal it is you want to achieve, it's not even just about that. If you have been not getting there and it's been 3, 4, 5 years, you didn't put a date on it. I don't even have to ask you. I know you didn't. Unless you can tell me you had a date, you did a lot of stuff and it just didn't work out because maybe you didn't know what you were doing. But a lot of times, it's real vague. I want to start a boutique at some point so I can leave my job. And now it's 5 years and you've still been at that job. That's because you didn't put a deadline of a year from the date you first said it. What's the worst that could happen if you don't hit that? Okay, you have to move the date out 6 months, maybe another year. But a real date that you commit to makes you do all the things you need to do to hit it. Without a date, you're just like, well, I'll work on it now. And then, I got to go on vacation. This person wants to do that. Life starts to get in the way. And then it's 5 more years of them underpaying you and overworking you, not being in your kids' lives. Somebody else is raising them. Can't take care of your aging parents. Can't go on vacation. These things, the reason you want to have your boutique, these things are still not being achieved because you're playing a game with your goals. There's no dates. You haven't broken it down into actionable parts. It's too vague. You're not being specific. You're looking at milestones and patting yourself on the back for doing an action item when you haven't gone deep enough into what you need to do to get to your goal, or you're casting goals that are so ridiculous that you know you're not going to achieve them, but it makes you feel like you have something going on because you keep saying, I want to do this big thing, but you know it's not even humanly possible to do it. Or it's so small that it's keeping you stuck where you are. These are the goal killers that are commonplace when people are trying to achieve things in their life or think they're trying to achieve things in their life, and it's stopping you dead in your tracks. And if you are tired of playing these reindeer games with your goals, no matter what your goals are, whether they are health related, whether they are career and money related, whether they are relationship related, whatever those things are, it's okay if you are not good at it. It's okay if your New Year's resolutions fall apart every year. What's not okay is to realize it and keep moving and operating like that. It's not going to change because you keep doing the same thing every year. You need to learn how to have a goal framework that gets you goals that are inspiring, that catalyze you into action, challenge you, goals that are challenging you to step outside your comfort zone. And if you are needing a goal framework that you can put together with the work that you want to do in your boutique so that you can be a successful entrepreneur, so that you can launch your boutique for real this year and not just keep talking about it at some unspecified time in the future. If you are sick and tired of not having the things you want, of telling yourself you want to have these things and watching your life fritter by as you get older and more disappointed with the outcomes you're getting. And if you are serious about transforming not only how you deal with goals, but how you operate in your business and how you operate as a future entrepreneur, then I invite you to reach out and book a call with me, book a breakthrough interview. It's a free 45-minute call where we're going to dig into what's not been working. Are you the person that's been setting goals for your business all this time and you never actually achieve them? No judgment. We're just going to look at it, face the truth, and then say, okay, where are we going? And then what's it going to take to get there? But you need to start by making a decision to book your call with me now at MelanieHunter.com/chat. That's Melanie with 2 L's, Hunter.com/chat. Let's get on a call. Let's look at your goals, the goals that you've had that have come to pass and those that haven't. And we're going to figure out what's been the difference. Why have you been able to achieve some of this stuff and not some of this other stuff? Why is it that you're still stuck in your cubicle prison at work, in the 9-to-5 grind that you hate, being underpaid? Almost every person that I get on a breakthrough interview with is underpaid by a lot. How much more of your creative time, how much more of your youth are you going to give to an employer that does not value you? Doesn't have to be that way. You can turn your great idea for your shop or boutique into a reality, but it's not going to happen by continuing to set goals that you never achieve, doing the same things you've been doing year after year that haven't worked. That's not how this works. You got to do something different, and you need help to get there. No shade in needing help, strong Black woman. We cannot do it. So let's have a conversation. Again, book your breakthrough interview at MelanieHunter.com/chat. And let's see if we're fit to work together to get you out of this rut of killing your own goals and actually to achieving them. Fill out the application that pops up after you get on my calendar, and we will talk and get you out of this rut and on your way to achieving your future. This is not for dabblers. If you're just curious, stay off my calendar. Don't have time. I'm only looking for those people who are sick and tired of being in the rut, of being in the hamster wheel, and you're ready to get out and be free. So again, book your call, MelanieHunter.com/chat. Do it right now. No more procrastination. Don't set booking this call as a goal. Do it right now, and let's talk soon. It's been my pleasure to share with you. I'll be back later this week with another informative and transformational training class. Until then, have a great week, and we will talk again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.